Now what's cool here, if I go into details, I'm going to show you just a kind of a fun trick here. So we're going to get taking the props here, and I want to see what's actually coming in from the props. One, probably just use the dev tools because that's the easiest way to do it. But I'm going to show you another kind of fun trick that I did actually learn from Ryan Florence. So I'm going to say json.stringify props null 4. So I used pre and code, so pre as in pre-formatted and code as in this is going to be code, right? And then I put JSON stringify. So this is going to take props and put it into like a nice pretty printed kind of way. So now if I go in here and I go to slash details slash something like that, right? Now, might be a little hard for you to see, but I can see everything that's coming in from the router. So the router is actually giving a pretty substantial amount of information to you, right? So it's giving me the path, the ID, right? And notice the ID matches this ID up here. As in, if I change it here, notice it'll change down here as well. The URI, and then a bunch of stuff from the location, like what the port is, the hash, the state, that's all coming in from the history package, if you're curious. So if you do this, the pre-formatted encode with JSON stringify with obviously any object in here, this will give you a nice pretty printed view of the props. And this is also useful for doing with state as well if you want to like see how state and props are changing over time. It's just a nice little debugging technique to dump something out to the DOM. Largely, I could also just go, if I just did inspect element and looked at the React dev tools here, I could see the exact same information. So here in details, that same information is available here on the right of my screen. You don't need to read it, but just know that it's there. Also, look how many components Reach Router puts in there. It's quite a lot. You'll see this a lot with libraries because they have to have multiple different layers to capture different parts of it, and that's pretty typical. I don't write code like this where you separate it out into various different behaviors. Like this one has like a location provider, router implementation, focus handler implementation, right? There's a lot going on here. But you'll see that a lot in libraries, which is when this search functionality becomes useful. So I can just search for details and then I can find it. So, good, any questions? All right. So let's make it so that when you click this adopt me, that it will take you back to the home page. Because most people would expect that, right? So I want to show you how to use a link. So we'll leave this right like this for now. We'll fix it here in just a second. We're going to go back to app.js. And we're going to wrap this h1 in a link. So I'm going to put link. And again, I'm going to use the auto import here. Notice that imported that up here at Reach Router on line 3. And I'll just close that. And so I'm going to say link 2 equals slash, and then inside of that link, I'm going to put this h1. And actually, let's go ahead and do it this way. Let's just get rid of all of the stuff around link, and we're actually going to put this inside of a header. Like that. So all I did here is I deleted the h1 totally, and then I put header, and then inside of that I put a link, which this link is ultimately going to end up being an A tag, but the nice thing about using link instead of A is that Reach Router will handle all of the various different routing mechanisms for you automatically. Oh, sorry. So just line 11 through 13 there. Okay, so let's go take a look at this. So now you can see here that If I click on it, it'll take me back to the home page, right? Cool. All right, this is mostly what I wanted to show you about Reach Router. There's a couple other things that we'll kind of sprinkle in here for the rest of the course, but this is like the crux of it. The routers in and of itself doesn't have to be very complicated. So there's a commit point here. The commit that you need to roll up to if you want to get to this point is GitHub ip5 commits. We are at add reach router, right? So we just did that one.